creative industry can be so rewarding for so many, but it also sucks. You see, it's got infinite possibilities when it comes to working for yourself, exploring new areas, and working on different types of projects that you've never even touched before. The creative industry is amazing in the fact that it will take you to areas that you never even expected to go. And for us creative people, sometimes that is everything. But by now, most of you know, it's a double-edged sword. We are wired, fundamentally, to take reward from closure and completion. There is often no set 9 to 5, and many of us will be working across industries. Although the journey is enjoyable, it also sucks. See, if you're anything like me, you've probably had those nights where you're working quite late. You've probably sidelined family events, social events, routines, the gym, all because you're working too late. Or you're several days or weeks into a project and you just want to see it over now. And there's the issue, we fall into this pattern of seeing work as our only creative outlet. And long term it leads to mental fatigue, physical fatigue, boredom, and just resentment of that thing that you once loved doing. How do we bounce back from burnout? Well, that's a tough one. The damage has already been done. And also, everyone reacts differently. Some people burn out, break down. Some people nap, avoid it. I personally double down on my workload, try and push through all of it, get rid of as many stresses from my life as possible, but inevitably, it all comes back. So let's talk about prevention instead. Let's talk about how we can be proactive in eliminating the chance of breakdown, the chance of burnout before we get there. Creatives, the first bit of advice that I'm going to give you is just recognising the signs. For some people it's having headaches, for me it's having a short fuse, not being able to get to sleep properly. And it's important to recognise the signs before it develops into an issue, and that's how you as an entrepreneur, as a creative, is going to take preventative measures in making sure that you don't burn out. And once you've got that list down, then it's just about changing your perspective. Sometimes, not every time, but sometimes it's about changing the perspective. Try and treat your symptoms before you get to the issue. So if you find that you're often distracted by social media, try time blocking your apps. If you often overpromise on projects, maybe put a pause on future projects, clear the backlog, and then once the backlog's cleared, you can start taking on new projects again. See, as I mentioned, for me, a sign of it is working really late into the night. So when I start noticing it creeping in, my best course of action is to just turn the computer off, get home, go to sleep. Even if I can't get to sleep, at least I'm not being active, at least I'm just recovering. And sometimes we just need to place emphasis on recovery. What can you do as a preventative measure to make sure that you don't reach that state of burnout? Another thing is just finding your pick-me-ups. Go for a walk, pick up a camera, do whatever you do that you love. Whatever it is that is not work or a different version of work. Because that is my second piece of advice, is rest. And another sign of burnout is self-doubt. And this is a big one because this is something we really struggle with within the creative industry. Almost all creatives suffer with imposter syndrome, and it's huge. It's really hard to deal with. I've already created a video entirely on beating imposter syndrome. Cards up there somewhere and links in the description. But when you start to feel that self-doubt kick in, when you start to feel that these challenges are too hard, maybe you're not delivering what you need to, it's important to remind yourself that a lot of people have these doubts as well. Maybe you need to just take a break from it. And that's where rest comes in, because you're going to be treating the issues before they even crop up. Go rediscover a hobby, go find something from your childhood, something nostalgic that you absolutely loved, whether it was Yu-Gi-Oh! Or Sylvanian Families or skateboarding, whatever it is. Hell, if you can't even think of something, just rediscover the reason you fell in love with what you're doing as a career. Just rediscover that. Photographers, go out, take some photos in a non-professional capacity. Videographers, go shoot something for yourself. Don't shoot it for a client. Do something for you is the main thing. Take a moment away from work, rest your mind, rest your soul. Rekindle that relationship with your industry so that it's no longer a stressor in your life. It's a renewed relationship. And that feeds into my next tip, which is take control, take responsibility, because when you just blame others for your issues, you relinquish that power over the situation that you have. What's actionable that you can do to make sure that you're not reaching that point of burnout? But sometimes burnout can come from a deflated sense of purpose, and maybe we're just not working towards our goals as fast or as accurately as we wanted. When's the last time you even reviewed your goals? Are you still on target? Are your priorities still the same? Again, I've done a video on that, cards above. Bullet points are specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and within a specific time frame. Map out the steps that you need to take to get to your goals and see if it's actually achievable and if you're still working towards them. And if you're not working towards them, then adjust your step, not the goal, until you can find a path that you can take that gets you there. Obviously, there's going to be barriers and obstacles in your way. It's just a part of life and that's a part of challenges, but as long as you keep trying to work through them, work towards something, you can usually get around most obstacles pretty easily. The issue is mostly just in your head. The next one's going to feel a bit of an insult, but get realistic with your time management. You can't do everything. So when you start slacking around and you start wasting time at work, you're actually taking from another area in your life, be that family, social events, hobbies, time for yourself, health, gym. We've already talked about this. Offsetting your routines to compensate for more work time. If you say to your friends and family that you're going to finish work by 5 p.m, and then you spend 3 hours on Instagram every day and you're finishing by 8 consistently, maybe those 3 hours are impacting your day. And maybe it's time to review what you're doing as a person each day that's consistently setting you behind. Or maybe you are being productive all day. Maybe you spend the last 3 hours writing blogs. Can it be delegated? Or can you delegate something else to accommodate time for that? Or if it's too expensive, maybe you need to prioritise raising your rates, lowering your workload, or adjusting your deliverables until you meet what you need to meet. And that way your surplus of turnover can allow you to reinvest and outsource that work, which means that you've correctly adjusted your priorities. And the time you save, you can use it on something else, upskill yourself, or if you need to focus on another part of your life, such as health, reinvest that time into the gym, meditation, whatever works for you. Let's get back to the car. And my last piece of advice for avoiding burnout is to stop doing the actions that led you to burnout in the first place. Don't go back to the same processes. Don't just ignore it. Address it, assess it, reduce it. Make your lists, set your goals, mitigate your distractions, set measurable progress indicators for yourself. What can be measured can be improved upon. Get some clarity on what's leading you to that point and then take action on it. Now stop procrastinating on YouTube. Let's get you on track to a more sustainable life each day. See you next time, creatives.